Hi, it's Brad with Engadget, here to give you a brief look at the Toshiba Excite 7.7. It's a tablet on the smaller end of the spectrum, yet is packed with the Tegra 3 quad-core chipset and ice cream sandwich. It's got some reasonable specs, but is the Wi-Fi only model worth $500 for a 16 gig and $580 for a 32 gig? Let's find out. The Excite 7.7 Wi-Fi is also known as the AT270, and it's the follow-up to the similarly sized Thrive that came out last year. This one is more powerful and much thinner than its predecessor, which shows Toshiba was striving to make huge improvements on its second major attempt at an Android tablet. As the name implies, it offers a 7.7-inch display with a resolution of 1280 by 800. This puts the pixel density at 196 ppi, which is pretty good for a tablet of this size. Honestly, this was one of our favorite parts of the tablet, as it uses the same kind of Super AMOLED panel as the Galaxy Tab 7.7, not to mention the same resolution. The screen is beautiful. It's easy to see outside as long as the brightness is turned to the max, and it offers viewing angles that reach almost to the edge of the device. The display is protected by Gorilla Glass, which should help keep it relatively scratch-free. You should still expect to see plenty of fingerprints and smudges though. The edges of the Excite are plastic, while the back cover plate has a dimpled texture and is made of aluminum. And since the device is only 7.6mm thick and weighs 13.4 ounces, it's pretty easy to handle and grip without it bogging you down too much. The only visible feature you'll see on the front besides the panel is the 2-megapixel front-facing camera, which actually does a pretty decent job capturing images. The bezel is a little larger than we'd prefer, as it's evident that the tablet could have been either smaller with the same screen size, or Toshiba could have increased the screen size without making the tablet any bigger. On top, you'll find a power button, volume rocker, and a toggle switch sandwiched in between the two of them. This switch can be used to mute audio, lock the power button, or lock screen orientation. To the right is the 3.5mm headphone jack, the micro SD slot, and a handy micro USB port for side-loading data. It's not used as a charger. That job goes to the behemoth 10-watt charger on the bottom edge that looks as if it's eating your tablet when it's plugged in. On the back is the cover plate we discussed earlier, though for the record it cannot be removed. There's no way to access the 15-watt-hour battery underneath. On the top right corner of the Excite's backside, you'll see a 5-megapixel camera lens with LED flash. Don't let the megapixel count deceive you. This is one of the worst cameras we've ever used on a tablet, and quite possibly ranks down with most basic feature phone cameras. We'll put it this way. It's the only camera we've ever used in which the autofocus actually tends to blur your image. Every once in a while, the images will turn out clear, but even then, our photos were rather void of crisp detail. The LED flash is subpar, and low-light photography in general is out of the question. Using the camcorder for 720p video is at least pretty smooth, but it also doesn't retain a lot of the detail we'd like to see. With that said, we fully understand that this is a tablet camera, and as such our expectations should be low anyway. But when compared to the other tablet cameras, it just doesn't perform to as much satisfaction. For instance, the Galaxy Tab 7.7's 3.2 megapixel sensor ended up taking better images. With a 1.3 GHz quad-core Tegra 3 and 1 GB of RAM inside, we were satisfied with the overall performance of the Excite. We did notice that it had a few struggles when trying to load websites, but games turned out quite well. As we played Shadowgun, for instance, pond water rippled and reacted properly to our actions as we walked through, even after changing directions several times. The processing power is helped along by the fact that the Excite is running stock ice cream sandwich. Toshiba's added a very light amount of skinning, but it's seldom noticeable and doesn't get in the way of your user experience. The company also added a lot of preloaded applications, but most of them are pretty easy to get rid of if you don't find them useful. So that's just a brief look at the Toshiba Excite 7.7. We go more in depth in our full review, so please check us out at Engadget.com. Thanks for watching.